Joining me now is Municipality of Port Hope Mayor Bob Sanderson. And Bob, obviously, the economic challenges of COVID-19 is really starting to hit home with municipalities. We're seeing across the province that they're starting to make the choices of having to lay off staff due to the workflow just not there. Give us an update of where we sit in the municipality of Port Hope.
Yeah, I will, and thanks. It's pretty hard on a lot of people, without question, for sure. And the economic impact is becoming, a significant one for municipalities. I think the general outcome we'll have to sort it out, but right now we are dealing with individuals. In the municipality, at our last council meeting, we did authorize staff to lay off 58 part-time employees. Those employees are employees who would normally be mostly in internal recreational facilities. They are part-time, they're non-unionized, and they unfortunately, don't have any work to do. They can't work at home, obviously, and that is probably going to cost, from the municipal perspective, that's about a $12,000 a week expenditure that we would normally have. So, some of it's good, some of it's bad. The bad part, of course, is these people need to be laid off. That's the first step. As you know, we've just had another 4 weeks of emergency status from the province perspective, and I expect that'll start to have secondary impacts as well.
Can you let us know what segment of or what parts of those staff that are released from, or what part of what departments?
Yeah, mostly recreation. It would be the Jack Burger complex, the people who would be doing the programs on a day-to-day basis, where there are groups of people, whether it be up at the Park Center, whether it be the Jack Burger complex, and 58 part-time people is fairly significant. The only good part is I think that the government is acknowledging, recognizing that, and giving some financial benefit to those. Our next step will be, to some degree, on a voluntary basis. There may be employees who are more comfortable if they could go on to some of the emergency response systems and be dealt blows by the municipality.
Has the municipality, Bob, started to look at the financial impact that is having on the municipality? Because obviously you're losing revenue from rentals of halls, from sports fields and such. Maybe not sports fields so much, but that would be coming up at some point here in the next 4 weeks as well.
Building permits. We're obviously our financial department is actually keeping a COVID-19 file. So when when it's all said and done, we can sort of balance the books a bit. Where were the savings? Where the expenditures? I expect for sure expenditures will outperform. We will have a lot of delayed input. Our parking, our transit, all these are areas where we would normally have revenues, but in some cases we still have expenditures.
Correct me if I'm wrong. I think that municipalities cannot run a deficit. Is that correct?
That legally, that's correct. I'm not sure that won't change, but again, I think this is going to have to be sorted out, because we're in the middle of it, and I know every municipality is struggling to balance this out. I'm certainly understanding that we do have reserves that we can use, if necessary. It's not ideal, but I think it's no different than an individual. Sometimes you're gonna have to dip into your bank account or your savings, and I'm sure people are doing it, including you and me probably at this point in time.
So, Bob, obviously coming up is the start of fishing season, trout season. Have you heard any word as of yet if the province will ban fishing? I know that you did, as a council, made a proclamation to try to maybe delay the start of it until after COVID-19. What's the update that you can give?
We haven't heard back from the ministry that, in fact, they will close trout fishing on the Ganaraska River. We have, following, I think every other municipality, certainly closed all ramps, access for boating, but it still does not restrict people from coming in, on foot and by car. But the other regulations still are significant. We do have a lot of ability to restrict it if we have problems, and we, as you know, did have some problems up at the fish ladder. So if by chance, people still come to Port Hope to fish on the Ganaraska River, we'll be very diligent in our management of how they conduct themselves. I'm also cognizant and encouraging people. only really, necessary travel. And I think if you're in Toronto or you're in other communities, I don't see fishing as a necessity at this point in time. So I hope that the overriding rules, regardless of what the ministry does, I'll also tell you that this conversation has escalated certainly with our MPP, David Piccini, the other municipalities. We're regularly updated and having discussions with our MPP, and that has been taken to the ministry by our representative as well. So we're hopeful that this isn't going to be an issue. I'm glad it's not the fall, quite frankly, because that's when the real crowds come in. Uh, the spring tends to be more of what I consider, the true fishermen, and I think and hope that they will follow the rules. Yeah.
Yeah. So if there is no ban, what measures are the municipality going to take to regulate this or to control this?
Well, I think that'll be determined. We have a council meeting this coming week, and if we don't have any reply, I think we will review that process. But we do have a lot of ability through the current situation to manage crowd control. It is on public property. They tend to have to come to, so they can't fish at the mouth of the river right now because we've got that restricted. And I think if we don't hear something from the ministry, we'll have the discussion this Tuesday at council as to how aggressive we'd like to be on the trout fishing on the river itself going through the municipality, because that's where our concern is.
Can you legally stop people from fishing? I guess I know this is always a conversation in the fall with the salmon about what you can and actually can't do as a municipality.
Yeah, as you know, we've struggled with the fall one quite a bit. Generally, it's municipal property that people who fish need to go onto to get to the river. If you're in the river itself, I don't think the municipality has any. And I'm not a lawyer, so I can't really confirm all this. But my understanding is that we have a level of control, mostly when it's on municipal property. The actual fishing itself is federal, and access to the fish, should be universal. So that's probably the discussion we'll have on Tuesday at our meeting. Hopefully, we will hear from the ministry. I'm not sort of encouraged that they'll shut down fishing, but I think really with all the other regulations surrounding what people should and shouldn't do and what we can do, and our bylaw enforcement officers and our police and even citizens, reporting, that we'll manage it.